morning and welcome to a special episode of Straight Talk. We're in conversation with Mr. Safaraz Ali, who's a well-known business entrepreneur in the West Midlands and who is also known for the incredible events which have taken place over the last couple of months, which he will touch upon. And I think what draws me back to continuing the conversations is the social justice model that he frames his work around. Welcome, Safaraz.
Good to see you again, Dr. Riaz. It's been a while. Well, I see you regularly every day, don't I? On social media.
Yeah.
Good to see. But good to see you once again.
Yeah. Well, I thought it'd be good to have an annual conversation where we check in just to see how the year has been. Talk about achievements, some of the challenges, and some of the next steps that we might be thinking of taking over the next 12 months. And I thought, let's find out what you've been doing and, what has been some of the big achievements over the last 12 months, considering it's been challenging with COVID, and then we had a lull, and then we're ending the year with a different variant. So over to you, Safaraz.
Thank you, Dr. Riaz. I mean, I started the year. I mean, you start off by any type of reflection by thinking about where was I this time last year, and what did end of December, January look like? And I made a note to myself to say, enjoy the satisfaction of doing very little in 2021. So my mind frame was, you know what, take in your stride, take things as they are, and just be satisfied by doing very little, not nothing, but very little, and just let things happen. And it hasn't actually worked out that way. I think I've been metaphorically on the treadmill, running at 7, 8 on the speedometer, where usually I'm half that. So it's been a little bit more than my usual sort of planning in terms of thinking. I've been a bit more active, doing a lot more on sort of community building, a lot more with obviously the events that you talked about events, and it has been about events this year for us, online, virtual events, and then the physical events that came in from sort of September onwards, and it just feels the last 2-3 months, September, October, November, and now finishing off in December, a lot of hyperactivity around networking and events and so forth, and getting to the point where you're thinking, this is a bit too much. I'm really physically, mentally tired out, one day after another, and so forth. So, but I am very, very proud of my association with the events sector and events locally, not just in you mentioned West Midlands, not just in the Greater Birmingham area, but also nationally as well. There's a number of events that I'm involved with. National Apprenticeship Awards. This is the Education Skills Funding Agency Awards. I'm proud to be a regional judge as well as a national judge, and that process took place over a few months. I'm involved with the Great British Entrepreneur Awards, which is again a national platform for entrepreneurship. That process took place over sort of 4 or 5 months as well, and the event took place in London. I'm also involved with a number of sort of regional award programs, Birmingham Awards, the Signature Awards, which moved to London. They started off in Birmingham, so they moved to London, so we were part of that. And then our own stuff as well that we do. So as you know, the Birmingham Apprenticeship Awards, it's a national event, but we run it in Birmingham. We've been doing a lot of work with the Birmingham Apprentice Network. That was something that was spun out from the whole BAME apprenticeship agenda that we've been doing. We've been sort of prioritization and tizing that and looking at opportunities to deliver value add to our clients, And really, the core business as well, the core work, the education skills. We now work in West Yorkshire. We have a contract with West Yorkshire Combined Authority. We're delivering skills to that devolved area. Bradford, Leeds, predominantly is where our work is. We're carrying our work with the Greater Manchester Combined Authority. We're continuing our work in the London area, Greater London Authority, as well as obviously the West Midlands Combined Authority as well. So that work is carried on. The care side of our activity has been a roller coaster ride in terms of the activity, mainly to do with staffing and staff recruitment and getting the right people in quick enough to service our clients, the National Health Service and the local authorities. So there's been a few things, but it's
You say a few things. That sounds like quite a lot has been going
a
on in
few
the last
things.
few months, even though it was quiet. It just seems like your idea of quiet and mine differ by quite a lot. So
Yeah,
sorry
yeah.
to interrupt.
No, no, Dr. Riaz. My plan was to take it a little bit slower, and I thought, what, just start reflecting a little bit more, thinking about where I am. Age also catches up on you, Dr. Riaz, and you start thinking about life in slightly different ways and so forth. And I'm not saying, I've gone past my midlife crisis or I'm having a midlife crisis, but you start reflecting things a little bit differently, and I think that's the thing. I mean, I've my plan at the beginning of the year was to study Islam a little bit more, particularly some aspects of it. And I previously was a have been I was an avid student and learner, and I've been a little bit out from some of the activities and some of the updates in terms of what's going on and so forth, and I wanted to get a little bit more involved. That is a slight. I mean, that is a I'm disappointed that I've not picked that up this year. I have in the last 2 weeks because I've reflected in terms of, oh my god, you know what, the whole year's gone, and so again in the last 2 weeks I've got it on my in my car, and I'm sort of listening to a number of things, and I'm reading a number of things and so forth. So I'm trying to study some aspects of um, certain parts of theology and so forth. So I'm doing that. I've spent a bit of time also podcasting. So I started the Canny Conversations podcast right at the end of December last year. Started recording it. It got published beginning of the year, and we've had what we call the first series and then the second series. So we've done around 24 episodes of Canny Conversations. This is myself and my journalist friend Adrian Kibler having a conversation about various business related topics, entrepreneurship topics. Uh, you and I, obviously, at the beginning of the year, did a number of things for Ramadan TV, Straight Talk. Obviously, with your situation as well, and with the TV scheduling, we weren't able to pick that up. So, I'm glad that we're doing this special and picking that up. I did another podcast that I've started just recently for our sector called FE Podcast. Our tagline is for those who live and breathe further education, mental skills, and welfare to work. So that's something that we've been doing. I've written more articles for the Business Influencer magazine. I've become a regular columnist for that. So there's a few things there that not necessarily pay the bills. I would say, Dr. Riaz, but it's things that do drive me and build our reputation, hopefully, and our name out there and bring opportunities. And at the end of it, I enjoy it as well, and it's part of my own personal self development and so forth. And that's been the year. But can I just say congratulations to yourself, Dr. Riaz, in terms of the career and the opportunities and the work that you're doing. And normally you're the one asking me questions, and But firstly, I want to congratulate you, and I just want to, just for our viewers out there, for our listeners out there, would you mind if I can ask you in terms of how that's going, what the career looks like, and the impact that you're doing? And I know you're doing a fantastic job, but would you mind just sharing that with us as well?
Yeah, right. Of course. I until the end of July this year, I was leading a national project in Scotland, which was funded by the Scottish Funding Council, and I led on behalf of an organisation called Advance HE. It's looking at tackling racism on campus, where I and a selected group of academic professional staff from universities and colleges, as well as students that were from master's, doctoral and postdoctoral backgrounds, who were all people of colour, had that lived experience and expertise in their areas of what racism looked like and how it could be challenged. And so we created a set of resources which sit on the Scottish Funding Council website, it's a great project to be part of. And now universities and colleges are picking them up and using it as a strategy to tackle racism on their campuses, both on the face-to-face real campus and on the virtual platforms that we've migrated to over this COVID period. And in September, I joined the University of Glasgow. I also sit on the Engender board, which was tragically, we lost our chief executive, Emma Rich, in the summer. But again, it's like work in progress. We're looking for a new chief executive. But there's lots of ongoing things in the wider tertiary education sector, as well as the roles I play in community activism. But enough about me. Back to you, Safaraz.
No wonder you've gone under the radar there in terms of the media stuff and the TV stuff, Dr. Riaz. So you've taken a little bit of a sabbatical from that end, and hopefully we'll have you back as a regular on our shows again.
I hope so. I miss having that banter with my my co-host on Straight Talk, Shabana Naz. Brilliant character, and she has some banter. I can assure you, and this good chemistry when the three of us get on the same screen together. But let's move on and talk about next steps. What are the next steps that you've got planned? I don't think you're going to be taking it easy from the work that you've started, the network groups, and what I'm seeing on social media. It will be all go.
Yeah. In a word, or in a couple of words, I would say it's we're upping the ante. Yeah, we're sort of changing gears a little bit in terms of picking certain things up. So we've obviously we've done a lot of work on the celebrating diversity in apprenticeship work that we've been doing since 2016. Now known as the Birmingham Apprenticeship Awards, we've got the Birmingham Apprentice Network, but we've also got other forums that are coming out of this. First of all, apprenticeship is something we're working on with a plan to do that in next year. So we're looking to have exhibitions at a ground level in 3 cities in England initially to start off with, London, Birmingham, and Manchester. We're sort of working on getting commitment from employers and the universities and learning providers to come on board. That work has been going on for about 4 or 5 months, 6 months now, and plans to implement that in the year. There's been a slight restructure within the team, so we're adding more people to the team. I've taken a little bit more of an active lead once again in terms of the plans for 2022. We created the pledge, the DEI pledge this year. We're pushing on that in terms of webinars, training materials, seminars, and also writing more thought leadership pieces. We've got the 100 apprenticeship report. Those sort of things we're currently working on. And bearing in mind, these are part of our cause in terms of, the agenda that we're doing, in addition to the work that and the targets that we have as well. So I think from our perspective, from my thinking is that, I've got to start thinking a little bit about the ecosystem of our products, and where do they fit in, how do they lie, what's our route, what's the added value that we're doing, and how does it all connect, and how do we build that community that's there, and how do we add more value to our partners, to our employers, and really try and get more interchange between them, and getting that working. So that's definitely sort of a high focus in terms of implementation. We've got the ideas; it's the implementation of it, Doctor, that I need to start thinking about now. Getting that going, getting that working. Um, so that's something. Been focused really heavily on recruiting the right people for our team. So this year, we've restructured and taken on a number of key leaders, manager level people within our organization. We've got a number of heads of performance within Pathway Group that have come on this year. We were able to win the Restart program, which is a welfare to work contract in the Birmingham, Dudley, and the Warsaw areas, which is about working with long-term unemployed, getting them into employment. We've been in welfare to work for a number of years, and you'll know the conversations that we used to have when you were also in welfare to work as well, at the going back 10 plus years. So for a period of time, we were out of the market because of tenders, and we weren't part of any supply chain. We managed to get back into the supply chain for a lead provider circle, and that's something that very proud of in terms of the team's achievement this year. And then another part, which isn't really that sexy or interesting, is the back office end. So we've had to really look at our systems and processes and so forth, and what I call our boss team, BOS, back office support function, getting the admin right, getting the processes right, getting the frameworks right, putting a development plan in for those individuals, and admin and the back office really is the foundation of any organization. If that doesn't work, then the rest of it is it's hard to sustain. And as I said, ideas are somewhat slightly easier. It's the implementation of it, and the implementation doesn't work if you haven't got that back office function, back office support, and your core structure right. So that's been a little bit of focus in terms of systems, processes, structure, the right team in, putting development plans in, putting growth objectives in, and so forth. So our next steppers program is something that we've been working on, developing the next leaders within that business. So there's a number of things. Obviously, I've had more to do with our care business, the health and social care business this year. I've had I've supported my partner Wahid a lot more, mainly because of the year that it has been. It's been a turbulent time, not just the year, but the year before as well. So a lot more involved there, and variety is definitely the spice of life, as they say, and it's something that's there, and I'm very, very grateful, very, very grateful in terms of some of the opportunities that I have, and even though at times you feel you're running around like a headless chicken, as they say. But I'm very, very lucky, and very similar to yourself, Dr. Riaz. You've got many things you're juggling, and you're an absolute inspiration to me. And I look at you, to look at the work that you're doing, and I think we are very fortunate to be where we are, and with the support that we have as well with our family and our close friends, and colleagues. So there you go. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think I agree with everything you've just said, Safaraz. I think what I didn't mention is that I also have two granddaughters, a 6-year-old and a 3.5-year-old, who have just made me look at life from a completely different angle, and the joy that they bring me, the the questions they ask, it's almost like sitting at their level and looking at the world again. It just brings me a lot of joy. So it's a new part of my life that I just think like it now influences all the work that I do as well. So before we end today's session, what I've always loved about my conversations with you is the kind of words of wisdom or advice that you leave at the end of each session, you know, to which are thought-provoking or a call to action on what we should be doing, or what we, you know, how we can make what we do more relevant in the coming months. So back over to you, Safaraz.
Okay, that's a that's that. I tell you where I am with this. I mean, and you're absolutely right. Sometimes you know, one of these quotation does it, and sometimes you need to sort of reflect a little bit more. And I started, as I said, the year off saying I want to be content with doing very little, and 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 one of my favorite phrases this year is, "What does good look like for me?" And I'm using that in business, and I'm using that in my personal life as well. And that's a question that I ask myself quite a bit. And I find that, you know, when I answer that, it's not as bad as what I think. It's not as bad as what you think. Because what we do is we tend to sort of overplay on the negatives and not be able to reflect and be grateful. And by us saying, and people say grateful, gratitude, and so forth, but it's just become a saying. We're not really reflecting on the word. You know, I've seen many people, I've said it, you know, a number of times myself, you know, now it's easy to say gratitude, grateful. You know, when you're in your prayers, people say, you know what, you know, we need to be grateful. You know, we've been lucky, or, you know, could have been worse, or whatever the case is. But I think sometimes, you know, you've got to look at what does good look like in your life? What does good look like in work? And, you know, if there's certain things that you want to change, then focus on changing them. But on the whole, it's not a bad place for most of us who are here. And we should be very, very grateful for, you know, it's hard to do, Doctor. You know, you and I have spoken about this, and it's easy for us to say, but we get overwhelmed, I think, at times. So it's not the normal, you know, you ask me sometimes, and I, you know, end up with a bright quotation or something. But I just wanted to be a little bit more in terms of slightly reflective, you know. And I think when somebody says to you gratitude, you know, being humble and being grateful, I think we need to really just ponder on that thought a little bit more. I've personally done that. You know, I was a little bit upset with myself on my to-do lists throughout the year, because they never end. And I thought to myself, you know what? What's the, you know, if it doesn't happen, what does that mean? And we sort of push ourselves a bit too much. You know, and I'm not saying, you know, you don't have stretching and challenging targets. I'm not saying any of that. But sometimes, you know, we just need to think of it slightly differently. What does good look like? You know, and what does that look like for us? And that changes. Uh, and again, you know, our measure of success will change. Our uh, our focus changes as well, and there's nothing wrong with that. This year, last year has taught us that, you know, our outlook changes. I had a very young you know, relative of mine who suffered a health mini heart attack. It just changes your outlook completely. You know, I had we had somebody else who, you know, just survived from a car crash, and it's all these sort of little things, but our memories are sometimes short. You know, I had COVID, you know, the year before, and I thought to myself, I need to change my whole life. You know, I need to do my prayers. I need to do this. I need to do certain things. After a week, I'm back into normal, thinking that I'm going to live forever. And even And you think, you know what? Oh God, man, it's just human nature.
I think I
And I
think
think
we're
so.
yeah, I think we're all guilty of the same kind of scenarios that you've talked about. It's to me
Have you,
when you use the word gratitude and being humble, each one of us will interpret it according to
differently,
our
differently, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So
And and, and sometimes the arguments are not worth it. Uh, yeah, it's just, you know, it's not, it's often not worth it. You know, people are fighting over, you know, whether their name comes first on a list or the second on a list, and you know they've not been given the same recognition and all this sort of stuff. And you think that sometimes it's just not worth it. But each to their own. I think you know I can't, you know, we can't judge here. I think everybody's got their own priorities, their own thinking, and you know whatever is important for you, and that will change during the course of life. That will change during the course of the year, and we all go through phases. You know, it's like music. You go through phases. You know, I know you're still in the one phase and the and the Duran Duran phase, actually, but we're all going through different phases. Yeah, whether it's hip hop or quali or whatever the case is. You know, we all go through. I'm currently in the phase of, you know, listening to Audible and podcasts. You know, so it's just one of those. I was a phase before where it's LBC every day, each day, and it is what it is, as I say. And I think that's not a bad ending. It is what it is.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's Bollywood 1990s tracks for me. So thank you for that reminder. I think moving
Yeah.
into 2022, I think, I mean, it's very much about being reflective of my own practice. I think about being humbler and kinder and know that what I see in front of me when I meet a new person doesn't tell me the whole story, and just be kind and a more retrospective of a human being, and not to judge myself by their behavior towards me or to change my behavior because of how they
Yeah.
interact
How
with
they are
me.
with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So but yeah, that to me is just how I mean to go on, and just seeing more joy in every day through my grandkids. But Saf, any last words
What's up?
before we go?
Thank you so much. Wish you well for Christmas holidays. Wish you well for the new year, and don't make it too long since for the next time, Dr. Riaz.
I won't, and I'll hopefully bring my colleague with me, so we can have that conversation that we were always all meant to be having. But thank you so much again for your time, Safaraz.